Dee, dee, dee. Okay, guys. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a discussion here with my wife, and saying that a lady is like quaint and very posh or very thing, and a woman is a woman. What do you think, Beth?
Sorry, what's in debate? Whether it's lady or woman, or whether it's quaint or
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Definitely woman. Yeah,
definitely
a
woman.
lady is a set of values. A woman is a gender.
Ah, right. Okay. Thank you, Beth.
I don't consider myself to be a lady. Oh no, but I'm definitely a
Oh,
woman.
you are definitely a lady and a beautiful, beautiful
That's
one.
what we were saying just now.
A beautiful one like that. Uh, okay, let's move on. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome. Okay, Beth, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, this is something that's sort of, writ large in my life at the moment, and I thought it might be useful to talk about kind of friendship specifically. I mean, it can be any relationship that this all applies to, but friendships particularly, it's funny because there's no protocol, there's no etiquette for dumping a friend. And also, a lot of people find it difficult to make friends. Um, Somehow some people sort of never learnt it in the playground, or they had bad experiences or whatever, and find it difficult to reach out and to learn to trust strangers, and to make them no longer strangers. um, so yeah, and the reason it's a big deal for me right now is that, um, as I'm always saying, I'm deep in the darkness of menopause at the moment, perimenopause, and I find that it's changing me. It's changing me a bit as a person. It's another big life experience which every female goes through, and it does change your perspective. You get an awareness of the preciousness of life and your health, the closing of a chapter, the end of your sort of fertile years. And a lot of us go, oh, what's next? How can I add value? How can I have fun? Who do I want to hang out with for the remaining, whatever it's going to be, 20, 30, 40 years of your life? So also, it's not widely spoken about, but the menopause is basically like puberty backwards, right? And I'm sure that we've all had friends that we made in teenagehood that we haven't necessarily carried on knowing, because they're widely accepted in society, the teenage years, as formative years, when you're changing from a child into an adult. You're becoming your adult self, and that kind of process, it's that big, menopause, for probably 80% of women. 20% of women sail through it with no sort of hardly notice it at all, but for 80% of it, it's a major hormonal upheaval, and that does leave us changed, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, um, and in our values, which I think is the key to this, is that as you grow through life, particularly if you're someone like me who's into self-development and things, it's awesome to be able to do new stuff and see things in a more positive way, and meet new people and things. But often along the way, you have to let some people go. You have to let some toxic relationships go, that are holding you back. Um, and that's really hard for a lot of people to do. I don't know if that's something you've
Yeah,
experienced,
yeah, yeah.
you've sort of outgrown, really.
Uh, Well, I had to because if I didn't, then I won't be able to get on with my life. How about you? Because you're just coming out of well, in past few months, you kind of like come out of a relationship and gone back into another one.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I actually sort of split up with my ex in June of 2018, so it's been a bit of a while. Although we're
Oh,
not
sorry.
divorced
Yeah,
yet
sorry.
because of COVID, so I'm still trying to divorce him, and he's still trying to divorce me. But it's just because the courts have been closed and things, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was single for a while just to get my head together before I teamed up with Guy. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's something like 40% of women finish their marriages in menopause, which is quite a big chunk, isn't it? You
What?
know,
40% of women actually end their marriages.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, most marriages are ended by women rather than men. Men will just cling on till the end, really. You know, it takes a lot for a man to leave. I think they have to be having a really pretty miserable time.
With
But it's usually,
menopause, gosh.
no, not just with menopause, but yeah, but about 40% of women in menopause end their marriages, and part of it is this whole waking up thing of going, okay, so that's that whole phase of my life, that whole childbearing phase, over with, and then a lot of us are looking at the prospect of, so for the rest of the years of my life, I'm going to be with this man that I've married, you know, and a lot of women look at that man and go, oh, I'm not sure I can face that. That doesn't seem like fun to me anymore, you know. Um,
Oh,
and of course,
thanks, Beth. Thanks.
and of course,
I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and my wife's going to look at me and thinking, well, what the heck can I marry?
well, I'm sure that won't be the case. But the thing is, it's worth talking about this because, um, you know, if men were aware of it a bit more, you know, this is happening, you know, it is a fact. So we may as well talk about it so there's more awareness for both men and women. Men, of course, tend to do, you know, there's the cliche, isn't there, of the midlife crisis, and they buy a convertible and a toupee, and they try and go out with somebody younger, have an affair with a younger woman and stuff. But men may do that, and that's a cliche. It's a cliche. Of course, most men don't do that, you know. The thing is, they have clinically proved that also the andropause exists. So there is kind of a male menopause too. And I think we should stop making fun of men's midlife crisis, because I think a lot of men are going through the same thing where they're thinking, God, you know, I've worked so hard all the best years of my life, and now I'm here at 50 or whatever. What's it been for? And like, what's happening next? And when do I get a chance to sort of sit back and appreciate it all and enjoy it all? You know, there never seems to be a chance to do that for a lot of men stuck in the sort of traditional breadwinning roles. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's hard for them too. And, you know, it'd be great if there's a bit more dialogue about what happens to both men and women in midlife. And that was something that, you know, couples were aware of. I mean, I haven't done much couple work, but you know, the one-to-one stuff, you know, women my age that come to me, you know, often their biggest situation is their relationship. And, you know, often it's so full on having kids and everything. You put everything else second, you know, including your marriage, your relationship. And often, you know, the kids then go off to uni or get jobs or whatever, and you sort of, you know, the tide's gone out and it's like, oh my God, like what's left? I hardly know
Mm,
this person sitting next to me. And I think if it was talked about more, couples could kind of see it coming a bit more
mm,
and maybe plan for it and make sure they're having a date night, and, you know, feel okay about getting some counseling, some advice for, like, you know, what do you want the next chapter of your marriage to be about? You know, you've done the house and kids thing. What's next for you guys? You know, and think about that. But yeah, so absolutely, I've had to move on from my husband. He wasn't a bad person or anything. It's just that he had he's got some issues. He's got some mental health issues, and although I'd changed, he wasn't able or willing to change, which is fine. That's totally his choice. But it gets to a point where you think, if I carry on living with this person, that sort of inertia of the habits we've built up over 25 years together, that'll drag me back into my old ways. And I can't do that. You know, I'm not strong enough to sort of be resisting all day, every day. And of course, my poor husband, you know, his wife had become a different person. I'd suddenly become more confident and outgoing and happy and stuff. And he's one of those people who likes to be needed. You know, he got validation from me being anxious and depressed and needing him, and wanting his support and things like that. And kind of like he was a bit left with like, oh, okay, she doesn't need that from me anymore. Like, so what? How do I, how do I show her I love her? How do we do this relationship now that actually the whole dynamics changed?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so we struggled for, we went to counselling and all that for about 6 or 7 years, and we tried to find a way through. But ultimately, he didn't really want to change, and that's totally up to him. But I not only wanted to change, had changed. I also want to keep growing. So I realised that I needed to, get out and do my own thing.
Well, it's some marriages kind of like last a long time, and some
Yeah.
marriages don't, and and sometimes people wake up during the night thinking who they got next to them, and some people thinking tomorrow morning is going to be the last day of our life. Thank you, Beth. Thank you. No, but I, I've got to pack my bags now. I think. Um,
No, stop it. I'm sure. I know you two have a lovely relationship. You're always posting pictures of the two of you and everything, and that's really lovely to see. So, that's great.
I do love my wife. I do love my wife.
I know you do.
I tell my wife every day that I love her. I wake up, I tell her, and she said, "Stop looking at me." I said, I can't," and I say to her, "I see beauty." But
Oh,
anyway, enough
that's
about
great.
that. Enough about that. But see, the trouble is, though, about getting back to all the friends and everything, and getting friends. The trouble is, sometimes we can't even trust our friends, though, can't we?
Trust them in what way?
Well,
To
anything. It's anything. It's like I remember I went to a concert once. I don't know if I told you this. I went to a concert once to see Charlie Lansborough. And Charlie Lansborough said, in this world, you'd be lucky to have 5 true friends who will
yeah,
actually be there.
yeah,
And it's true, because, you know, and the trouble is, some friends, they probably kind of like want to use you, or because you got more than them, or they want to be part of your clingy group. They do, don't they? Because, when women get together, that's it. You can't split them up, can you? Huh?
well, I guess so. I mean, I think it's, for most people, it's more subtle than that. I don't think there's necessarily, in most cases, something sort of toxic going on. It's just that, like, friends you have sort of in your 20s, for instance, right? I've had friends in my 20s who, some of whom were all about their career, and some were all about traveling, some were all about having kids, and um, we make really big life decisions in our 20s about kids, say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I found that, I've still got some friends from then who've had kids and some who haven't and stuff. But the ones who didn't, sort of, they almost had some issues around the fact that they didn't have kids, and the fact that I did have kids made some things somehow awkward for them for a
All
few
right,
years.
yes,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um, and Also, there's friends there's friends you have that you get pissed up with in your 20s, and sometimes maybe those friends continue to drink heavily, for instance, and you don't. Or there are friends who, sometimes, this hasn't happened to me, but I know a friend of mine, when she got divorced, for instance, she lost a lot of friends because, they were worried that she might be after their husbands. I mean, how crazy is that? But that happened. So
Hold on
it's sort of
to
it's sort of
hold on
in
to your partners, people.
I know it's crazy, isn't it? It's sort of insecurities in people, and small incompatibilities that kind of have a compounding effect over the years, and lives that just grow in different directions. And you find that it's more and more of an effort to add value to that person, and it's less and less, fulfilling being with them, because their values are different, essentially. I'm a bit of a lefty, I'm afraid, and I think I've probably got more left as I've grown older. But some of my friends have become more right wing. And it's kind of, I'm okay with that. I don't mind if they vote a different way, but some of them do. Do you see what I mean? So it's not always like a major thing, but it's that sometimes you get to the point where it's like so and so and thingy are coming for the weekend, and you're kind of going, oh God. So, she'll have too much to drink and start ranting on about such and such, and he's a bit of a flirt, and we'll have to do it. And it's when it gets to that stage, and you sort of like, people don't often say to themselves, why are we still doing this? What is the point of this? And it's often that people just don't know how to end friendships, or don't feel that they can end friendships.
Have you, in your time, in your 60 years being on this planet, I'm only,
60.
I'm only joking. I'm only joking. No, about being on this
51.
planet. Sorry?
51.
All right, okay, 51. Okay, sorry. Sorry,
Right.
non news.
For accuracy, I'm just saying.
No, but in your time,
Mm.
have you ever had to say to your friends, sorry, I can't be your friend no more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through that with a friend at the moment, because for a couple of years now, we've had this sort of mismatch where I'm really busy with my kids and being a single mum and stuff, and also childcare wise. My ex is a great dad, and he has the kids every other weekend, but that means that I only have every other weekend off, right? And so and she lives down south. I've got a lot of friends Oxford way, and I've been saying to her for ages, and obviously we've had COVID, but apart from that, I'm willing to come to you. I'm happy to come and stay with you, because she's got a younger child than me. I'm happy to come and stay with you, or I'll stay in a hotel nearby if you don't fancy making it the spare room or whatever, and we'll spend some quality time together. But she is and in between times, I'm not very good on the phone, right? But she's the sort of person who likes to have a lot of short phone calls. But that's really difficult for me, because I run my own business. I work a lot in the evenings. And also I need to give time to my kids in the evenings, who are teenagers, and they kind of, that's when they come alive in the evening. So my
Yeah.
evenings are quite busy. And I've sort of tried to explain this to her over time, and also I've sort of said, look, let's book a weekend in, and I sort of say, I've got this weekend, and this weekend, but she doesn't like to commit. She likes to do things more on the spur of the moment, and that just doesn't work for me, because
No, no.
I'm unfortunately stuck in a
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah,
I'm rigid,
yeah.
So again, nobody's being horrible to each other. It's just a mismatch of lives. And what's happened is that she had kids really late in life. And when the rest of us were all having kids, she was still single, and she was the person that had to do the sort of driving around to see us, because we had babies, right? And now she's got a much younger child, and the rest of us have got teenagers. She's kind of expecting, fair enough, I guess, some payback, some kind of like, well, hang on, I'm the one with a little kid now. Can't you all come and see me? But of course, she doesn't realize yet, because she hasn't got teenagers, that teenagers still need you. It's still quite involved
Mm.
parenting. And my youngest is 15. I can't just leave him in the house on his own and go down to Oxford for the
He'd
weekend.
have a party, he will, wouldn't
Probably.
he?
So but she just has no understanding of this. So we sort of tried to talk about it, but she's sort of disappointed in me. She's like, kind of, I've done all this, and now surely it's my turn to have this. And I've had to just say to her, look, this is how my life is. It's I have very little free time, because I'm a single mum who runs my own business. The free time I do have is rigidly structured because of childcare. I also have a partner, but I said, I'm happy for you to take priority. You just name the weekend. I'll come down to Oxford, and I'll come and see you, and I'll either come for the day if that's easier for you. You don't want me staying over, or I'll stay over, or whatever. But I said, I'm not letting you down. This is just my life at the moment. I'm sorry if your expectations are X, but I can only deliver Y. And if that's not enough for you, then maybe we should take a break. Maybe wait a few years. We've been friends for like over 20 years, so I can't imagine it finishing altogether. But maybe we need to give it 5 years or so, until she feels that she's got her her life on track. And in 5 years, my kids will have gone, so I'll be able to do all the running for her and, you know, do it that way. Because she just doesn't seem to be able to accept that even though I've got much older kids, I've got less and less flexibility and less free time. You know,
Yeah.
in her mind, I should have more flexibility and more free time. So again, nobody's being horrible or anything. It's just like a mismatch of expectations, I think.
Just tell her to meet up with you in about 20 years time. You better go up there then
I
on
do,
your
you
simmer
know,
frame.
because you know, in the email, you know, I talked about all the things that I love about her. I talked about all the great stuff we've done together and how valuable the friendship is. And I also said, but at the moment, I feel like I'm constantly letting you down. I feel like you're disappointed with me. And I deserve better than that. You know, I deserve, you know, I'm absolutely doing my best. This is, you know, I can offer you, I'll come down as often as you want to. I'll come to you, you know, I'll stay with you or in a hotel or whatever, and I'll give you all my attention, you know, and that's as much as I can offer to you right now at this stage in my life. And I offer it gladly, and I would love to spend that time with you. But if that doesn't suit you, then fine. You know, that's up to you, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
but see, the trouble is, it's all right for her, but you know, you got a busy life and everything, and you
yeah,
know,
and
it's
you know,
difficult, isn't it?
yeah, it is difficult, and it's nobody's fault. And you know, we absolutely don't want, neither of us want to get to a position where we're starting to feel bitter or angry with each other. So you know, we're trying to have these difficult conversations, and in fact, it was off that friend, probably when we first met, probably 15 or 20 years ago, when she was dumping a friend, and I thought, gosh, you can dump friends, you know. And I actually kind of learnt this concept off her because she was letting go of someone in her life who um, you know, had become, you know, toxic and needy, and or, you know, it just wasn't working for her anymore. And I said, oh God, that's fascinating, you know. And she showed me how she'd worded the email and all that sort of thing. And ever since then, I have allowed myself to let go of people, and I've just been honest with them about it, because otherwise there's that whole period of like, why isn't so and so called? You know, something
Mm.
wrong? Is it, you know?
See,
Um,
I was like that, Beth. I must admit, right? I was like her because when Michelle had a big family, say, and a lot of children, and when I started going out with her, I used to ring her up and go, "Are we going out tonight? I can't. I've got the kids,
yeah.
and he's not having them tonight and something like that." I said, "Why and what?" And at the end of the day, I was just getting frustrated about it because I couldn't see her. Then we were seeing each other, but the trouble is, when you got children, because she's got teenagers too, and the teenagers used to babysit. You know, they were old enough to babysit. You know, but the trouble was, I was being selfish in a way, kind of like saying, I want you all to myself. Forget about looking after your children. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh, totally. I mean, that's a whole other thing that I've experienced recently is you know, part of sort of dating when you're older, second time around with kids and stuff, is that I find, and this is no disrespect for men, but men are used to often if the man's been married before and maybe he's got kids too, but most men, just generalizing here, I accept that, but most men are used to a pattern where they go out to work every day and that's what they do, that's their contribution, and the woman works around his work schedule and the kids' work schedule to get stuff done, right? And often she works too. Okay, so the man has never experienced what it's like to come second to other people, right?
Yeah.
And when I started dating, as a woman with kids, I basically put on my Tinder profile, you know, my priorities are my children and my business, and you would come third, right? And some people got in touch and thought that was some sort of a joke. You know, when we actually got chatting, they were like, "What? I'm supposed to come after your job? I'm supposed to, you know?" And it's like, "Yeah, because I've got to feed my kids. Yeah, you know." Um, and I actually got some abuse. There was some men sort of, how dare you say that, you know, this and that. Who do you think you are? And you know, you're not that great anyway, love, and all that sort of thing. And so I think it's hard for men, and I had a couple of sort of, you know, quick little sort of dates that fell apart quite quickly, because men who sort of said, okay, yes, I see the way your life is. I see that, we can only get together every other weekend. Again, it's the same with my friend. I've only got every other weekend free. And then when it actually came to it, they were like, oh yeah, but I want to watch the football with my son that weekend. Or, oh right, yeah, but I haven't actually told my kids I'm dating yet, so I can't spend a whole weekend with you because then they'd be suspicious. Or, oh yeah, but I didn't think you meant that. What? I've got to turn up every other weekend and not any other time. And I was like, yeah, because that's all the time I have, because I have my kids.
Mm.
And they just, it was just a massive shock to them. So I do feel for you, Stevie, and you're absolutely not alone. It's just the way, you've been conditioned, because most men aren't used to having to give way to somebody else's requirements and work around another person's routines.
I don't mind. I don't mind. But we don't have the children around us no more, so it's just me and Michelle. But what I'm trying to say sometimes is that, if we got children and in a relationship, you know, children comes first before any man or any woman, because it's that it. And I remember when Michelle said when we met up again, after meet because we were, going to school together, and we
Yeah.
met at a school reunion, and she said to me, "Well, I've got so many children, and if you don't like that, tough, because my kids come first." And that's what she said, and it was like, oh, hang on, this is a tough cookie to break, isn't it? You know what I mean? But the trouble is, Phil, what men's got to realise too is that they just can't go around kind of like ordering people around and telling women who's got children, oh, get a babysitter and things like that, because sometimes, they might not want a babysitter, and it, I think, if you go into a relationship and or a friendship and if you can't get on or it doesn't work, then just leave because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Do you agree?
I totally agree. It's definitely worth being upfront at the beginning, and it's the same with friendships. Really, is that I've sort of, I think, messed up a bit in the last few years, in that I've sort of gone networking and things and met loads of great women, particularly, but friends of both genders, and started making friendships and things, and then just not being able to fit everybody in, just not being
Mm,
able to, you have to show up, you have to meet every couple of weeks or every month at least to hang out, um, and I found I was copping out on that. I just wasn't getting around people, and I wasn't being a very good friend, really. I wasn't as available as perhaps I needed to be. So I've had to just sort of, whittle that down to the few friends that my lifestyle, my commitments can actually manage, so that I can be there for them when they
yeah.
need me.
The conversation we were having before you came on, it
Uh-huh.
was strange because what it was, we were talking about posh people, right?
Yeah,
And people who were, you know, not what can I say? Can I say normal?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And and anyway, and the trouble is, what I don't understand is that you got some women who are posh, you got some women who are normal, and the trouble is, I find is that why do they put braces on to please other people? These posh people.
Well, I think there's probably two reasons. So one reason is um, it's a way of it's a way of taking power. It's a way of asserting oneself. Is to kind of um, create a status. So kind of, I'm, and you see, posh is a funny word, isn't it? Because there's posh as in, yeah, airs and graces. There's posh as in rich. People equate posh and rich. Most of the posh people I know, they walk around in jumpers full of holes and drive old bangers. People with real money,
I'm
you
done.
know, and real feeling. Most of the sort of boarding school and public school people I know, just
Do you
you'd
know
never
what? Do you know what I said about you? You know what I said about you? When I
what.
first met you, I go, right, I've got that posh lady now. Oh no.
I'm not posh. I'm a Scouser, remember?
Yeah, I'm only joking. But at that particular time, I used to say, oh, I've got that posh lady now. I've got to watch my PNU.
But to answer your question, I think the other reason they do it is that the reason people feel they need to show status, or have an expensive car or designer clothes or whatever, and that's for men as well as women, is that
Yeah, yeah,
they don't feel worthy enough just on their own, just as they are, just showing up in tracky bottoms on a
yeah,
bike,
yeah.
and so and we all do it to a certain degree.
Of
I
course,
mean, I think I do it sort of work wise, because I'm always sort of wanting to say that I am qualified in NLP and things, rather than just the thing about life coaches is people think, oh, you just got one of those online courses from Groupon, didn't you, for like 22 quid, and now you're charging X pounds an hour and all that. Like, life coaches have got a really bad reputation, unfortunately. But yeah, so I'm kind of I think I'm still not sure enough of my own value, and when I go networking and things, I'm sort of like, and I've got qualifications in this and that, but yeah, I'd like to be able to just rock up somewhere, and not have to sort of explain myself. Do you know what I mean? Do you do that
yeah,
sometimes?
yeah. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I remember going to a TV show like in York, and we were doing a debate, and there was a lot of posh people, sorry, there, and I was going around joking around and things like that, and people they were looking at me, and I was thinking, well, people don't like me to, you know what I mean? It's the way I am, I'm afraid. I joke about, and I joke about, and like the other day. But the trouble is, so it's life, and getting back to the friends bit, you know, if friends can't kind of like take us as we are and take us, if we've got a family, children, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right, and they can't take it, then I think at the end of the day, they're not worth keeping as a friend.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a malicious thing. It's just like, hey, this isn't working. I mean, like that's what we do in a relationship. If we were dating someone for 6 months and it wasn't working, we just say, hey, it's not working, kind of thing. And we do change. We do as we grow and develop, we do get into different things and have different perspectives and all that sort of thing. And those don't always necessarily continue to align with friends. And what you said about just showing up as you and not caring whether people like you or not is the absolute quickest and most reliable way to make good friends. Because if you're showing up as you, people can actually see the real you and make friends with that person, rather than the mask that we tend to put on. We tend to always put our best foot forward, don't we? We always want to be as engaging and lovely and as a woman, as pleasing and nice and all that. So absolutely, just showing up as you is the best way to make successful friendships, because that they're seeing you as you are, and if they choose that, then great.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and just a last question before we go. When you go out, say like you're on your night out, right? And you got your boyfriend with you or whatever, you're out with the girls. Do you put a mask on then?
No, no, well, not with my boyfriend, no. He sometimes I'll just go out in a big black jumper if I'm just feeling crap, and he's fine with that. Um, he is, but I mean, but then you see, he knows me as I am, because we've
Yeah,
been friends for 15 years. So, before we got together as a couple. But friends, I think you have to take the rough with the smooth, right? You can't have a friend where every single thing that you have in common, you can't have every a single thing in common, right? So I've got some friends that like to go out sort of quite late, sort of cocktail bars and things like that. And to be honest, I'd like to be in bed by 9:30. But I make the effort because that's something they're really into, and they make an effort for stuff I'm really into or whatever, right? Because I think there needs to be a certain amount of that in a friendship, a certain amount of give and take and sort of being there for each other. And so I'm probably wearing the mask of liking staying up late and drinking cocktails more than I actually do, if you see what I mean. If I was just me and went, nah, I'd rather stay in and watch Netflix or read a book or something, then they'd be like, oh, okay. So I do it once in a while. I don't do it every time. I do turn them down a lot of the time, but every now and then I make a bit of an effort. But otherwise, I'm just me because, to be honest, I'm too exhausted, and life's too short to be anyone else, really.
Yeah. With your children concerned, because now they're teenagers,
Mm.
do they think they got a mum or just a friend? Because sometimes parents, sorry, parents can be a pain in the backside, can't they? They're all on their case all the time. Do you
Well,
think?
I'm sure that I'm a huge pain in the backside and enormous embarrassment to my children. I think that's fairly normal, isn't it? And I don't try to be my children's friend. I am their mum, but my style of parenting is very conversational and consensual, and I'm not a kind of just do that. I don't. Yeah, I do have a sort of teacher voice that I bring when I need to sort of just remind them of a boundary, say. But most of the time, they do tend to come and chat to me as a friend. Um, but yeah, but I am their mum, and I can't go around telling them really personal stuff about my adult life. Do you know
No,
what I mean?
no,
It's
no,
not appropriate. So
no. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. That was interesting. Thank you, Beth. Okay, guys, don't forget we haven't got no Mark Memphis tonight, so I can't take a mick out of him
oh
tonight.
no, what am I going to
No,
do?
no, he's got a gig tonight, I've been told. So
Oh, bless him.
tonight that's off, but we've got some more entertainment on its way for tonight, so do not worry about that. Mark will be probably back with us next week, and that's it. In the meantime, guys, thank you very much. I'm off to have some tea, and
Yeah,
thank you, Beth.
pleasure as always. All right, bye everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you.